Hey, everybody, Dominic Rubino here. Welcome to the Cabinet Maker Profit System podcast. Just by the title, you got to know what we're talking about here. Today, I've got Mike Goldstein as a guest, and our title is, let me look at this to make sure I get it right, the how-to episode for kitchen cabinet search engine optimization. Now, listen, Mike's been on the show before. You know why he's been here a couple times? Because he's got great material, and he talks about it in a way that's easy to understand. So let's stay tuned for the episode. I know you guys are going to love it. I want you to think about how you can make the changes in your business to get the right kind of clients. And what you're going to hear me doing, I've already got this in my notes here. What you're going to hear me doing is pushing Mike to talk about how does this relate to our perfect customer? How do I make this work so I can get more of the right deals instead of waiting and hoping and wishing that the right deals just somehow magically float through the door? Let's get to the episode. Mr. Mike Goldstein, how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show today.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've been on a couple times now.
I have, and it's a blast every time. And I'm so excited to be able to talk to all the cabinet makers out there, and and let them know what's going on in the search world.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of uncertainty around it, and it's just this other world, right? Who would have ever thought that one day there's a world behind our computer screen, or that our phone was a camera, or that our phone, there's an entire business model behind the screen of our phone, which is your area of expertise. Actually, Mike, let me stop because not everybody knows you. Mr. Mike Goldstein, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be talking to all the most professional business owners who happen to be cabinet makers all around the world?
Well, I'm actually shocked that they don't know who I am, only because I've been on the show 3 other times. And I actually am speaking coming up at the National Kitchen Bath Association conference in Vegas to about 60,000 people, which will be a blast.
Good.
But basically who I am is I run a company called Kitchen Remodeling SEO. I've been in the search engine optimization world since the infancy back in 1999. In fact, very first client of mine was a little unknown company by the name of Inktomi, which no one's ever heard of. But 3 months later, they became something that you may have heard of. They were called Yahoo.
Oh,
so when I say I've been involved in search since the beginning, I've really been involved
since a long time ago.
Yeah. And I just love helping people understand what's going on in the search world. What's how do you get found? What do you do to make it so that you become the most relevant in the eyes of Google, who really is the only person who matters in this world apparently anymore?
Yeah. Well, in the eyes of Google, who matters, because Google knows how to get to our client, who is who we care about and what matters, right? Absolutely. And Google's actually good with that. Google cares about what their customers care about.
They do, and it's really interesting because, when I started search, it was just all about, hey, let's just put a bunch of keywords out there. Let's even hide our keywords.
I know, make them blank on the screen and hide them and repeat the word again and again.
But now Google, they have basically one sole mission in life, and it is to provide the most relevant answer to a question or to the search intent of somebody. Search intent meaning, what is a person when they go to Google, what are they really looking for? Are they looking for educational information? Are they looking to buy a product or a service? Are they looking just to entertain themselves? And that's really a big thing. And which is kind of what has created all the different algorithms, the Panda, Penguin, helpful content, all these different things that people might have heard of. It sound like buzzwords, but what they really are they just different ways that Google has told its computer, hey, this is how we determine how relevant someone's answer is to a question that one of our users puts in.
So a lot of people that listen to this show have a website. They have a website, and it was built by somebody. But maybe they didn't go back to that somebody and get it updated. Is this what you're talking about? When if I don't do these updates, it's eventually going to work against me?
It's part of what we're talking about. So a lot of people, they have this pretty picture, right? But nobody knows how to find that picture. I can have, the fanciest website with all the functionality, and it could have been created by, any artist of your choice, right? Whoever be Banksy. Your favorite.
It's a Banksy, but nobody knows it's there. Yeah.
But exactly, no one can find it. So that's what I do is I help people take that pretty picture and actually get it found, or I help them take that website that actually provides a service, maybe it's an estimator for a fence contractor. Maybe it is, a website that shows people how to move things around their kitchens and how to different cabinets that are put in different ways will create space. Whatever it might be, I help you get that site in front of people who actually are interested in it.
Well, that's what you're here about today, right? Is your expertise. I mean, you wrote a book.
I did.
I'm going to get the title wrong because it's long. Mike, what's the name of your book? Just so you know.
The book is The Ultimate Kitchen Remodeler's Guide to Local SEO and Google Maps.
Yeah, too many. I would have gotten that. I would have got the Local Maps SEO Guide to Kitchen and Mike.
Trust me. That's one of the things that we do in marketing is we try and come up with these catchy phrases, or we come up with things that we think are memorable, and then I think we overthink it.
Well, at the same time,
that book's a perfect example.
But at the same time, that title speaks to the audience, which is the same audience as our show here, right? Everybody we're talking to right now. Exactly. The people listening now, let's look through the podcast or the video, because this is on YouTube as well. The people listening right now are walking their dog, or they're walking around their shop, or maybe they're driving between job sites, or maybe they're going out to help the installer. Like these are real business owners trying to grow a business. And so when we're talking about these, I don't want to say new concepts because I think everybody knows about it, but we're trying to, these people that are listening all want to be better. Right. And they want that little edge, and want to understand not only what I need to do, but how to do it. Right. And I might be stuck on the how. So tell me how to get past that stuck. So that's, why you're here.
Absolutely. And, that's, what you want to do is you just want to be the most relevant answer to a question. So you need to tell Google, you need to send signals to Google that says, I am relevant to this geographic area. I am relevant to this niche, to this specific question. And, and there's so many ways that you go about it. And what a lot of people, where they fall down is they think it's, I'm just going to create a website. I'm going to write some content. I'm even going to I'll put some keywords in my title tag. I'll put some keywords in it and people will find it. It's like, I forget who the fast food chain was that did it.
Set it and forget it. I'm thinking of Bronco, set it and forget it, right? With the chicken cooker. And
well, I think it was Wendy's did the hamburger, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, no, but they won't. They will not come because they don't have a clue that you're there. And that's, and that's the thing is, it's not just, can I write some content? And writing the content is kind of like the foundation. If you don't have that website built and it doesn't load quickly, if it doesn't have the right amount of pages, the right content, if it doesn't have certain things like titles, and if it doesn't have images and things like that, well, you can't do all the nice advanced pieces.
Yeah. Let me do this kind of unfairly to you, but let me jump all the way to the end of the conversation, which is, why the heck would I care to have a website that brings interested people to me? I know this sounds like a dumb question, but what does it look like? Maybe you've actually got stories. What does it look like when I'm running a kitchen cabinet company, a kitchen remodeling company? When I'm running that company, what does it look like when the web is working for me? And if you've got a story that takes us from soup to nuts, maybe that gives us some context as well.
I do. So I guess the biggest way to look at this is kind of what's the business goal? The goal in just about every business is to become profitable. How do you become profitable? It's you have to make sales. Sales cures all evils, right?
That's right.
But then, just take a step back, how do we make sales? Is we need people to actually want our product or service.
The right people.
Yeah. And what search is all about is not having to have a sales guy open up we don't have yellow pages anymore, but to open up that phone book, to open up the Rolodex and just start calling everybody in the area and saying, hey, would you like new cabinets? But rather target people who have an actual interest. They already have a home. They're building a home and they want to put in new cabinets. They want to remodel their kitchen. Maybe it's somebody, you're targeting people who own a house and they want to sell it, but they know that their kitchen's outdated and they're going to be looking for things. And it might even be they're looking for DIY information, and you're able to explain to them, hey, this is how you do this, this, and this. But here are all the issues that come up when you do it yourself. Rather, when you talk to somebody and when you have a professional do it, these are all the other benefits. And what that does, and I'll tell you, I have a client who actually they were doing about $15K a month, and it was all word of mouth. And that's not bad It was a one-man shop, and great, you're making a living. But by starting to do search engine marketing, by starting to use Google Ads, by using social media and all the different tools at their disposal, they're able to take that one-man shop, $15,000 a month, and now turn it into a 10-man shop. They're able to increase, and it was a couple of years back, I think it was 15 times, but it was either 12 or 15, I don't remember. But they were able to increase their revenue to a point where they actually now had a business rather than a hobby that they were getting paid for.
Yeah.
And that's what search can do for you. And so many people, especially listeners to this show, I'm sure they're contractors. They love doing what they do. They love swinging the hammer. But is it a hobby that maybe they're getting paid 40, 50, 60K a year to do, hopefully a lot more? Or is it a business where they're bringing in 7 figures and they're actually helping the community by providing jobs to people? And they're,
beautiful cabinetry, right?
Yeah.
Cabinets is the last thing people see before they go to bed, the first thing they see when they wake up. We have an impact on people. We impact, we are the context that they live their lives in. When they're helping their kids with homework at the kitchen table, those cabinets are in the background. It's part of everything around us, right?
Well, and the funny thing is, when you hear the statement, the kitchen is the heart of the home. I mean, they didn't come up, that wasn't just some saying. I mean, it's true. That is where memories are made, is the kitchen.
Well, and every party I go to ends up in the kitchen. Doesn't matter how hard people try, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, or maybe the outdoor kitchen, for those of you out there who remodel outdoor kitchens.
Yeah.
I've got lots of the same kind of story as well. But what I found interesting is that the people who are relying on word of mouth tend to get stuck in this rut. Yeah. And the problem with word of mouth is you don't know when somebody's talking good about you or talking bad about you. So you kind of wait and pray. I hope the phone rings. And then when the phone does ring, it's the only deal you're working on. And this doesn't matter how big your business is. I've had companies that work on word of mouth and referral, and they're $2 or $3 million big.
Sure.
Right. And they're still very passive about their marketing, which means they can't go out and be the masters of their own destiny. They cannot go out and say, I want to move my company forward. I want to increase sales. I want to hire people. I want to be profitable enough to upgrade the CNC or buy a new edge bander, because they're just waiting for deals to come in. And then on top of that, and I was just having this conversation with a buddy of mine the other day in a totally different way. In the absence of choice, we are forced to make a bad decision, right? So think about that. When we don't have choices, we're forced to make a bad decision. I was talking about my buddy getting back into the dating world because he's recently single, right? But it works. Yeah, I know. I don't either. But when you're waiting for referrals and word of mouth to come in, you don't have choice. And so, of course, you're taking deals that frustrate you. Of course, you're mad that we're doing this job and people are banging us for price and we're doing great work. Why don't they recognize it? Because you didn't give yourself choice.
Well, that leads me to thinking about the type of leads that you bring in. And I often say this to people: you want to create your search, you want to create your lead gen so that it's exclusive, because so many people they work with, and I'm not going to badmouth any companies or name drop anything. I think we all know who I'm going to be talking about here, but there are some companies that will sell you leads and they will also sell it to your 5 buddies down the road. And what happens is it becomes a race to the bottom. It's who is the fastest to dial the phone and who can give the absolute lowest price and make the least amount of profit possible. And, when I say to people, what you really want to do with your marketing and with your business is you want to take on the jobs that you want to take on rather than the jobs that you have to take on. And and that's exactly what you're talking about. And that it's the same thing with what I do with search optimization. Is you want to give an answer that's going to speak to someone who really wants to work with you, rather than an answer that's speaks just to anyone who looks up the word kitchen.
Yeah, well, so this is my next point, because you've touched on it a couple of times. Do I want a customer, or how do I tell the internet? How do I tell Google that I don't just want a kitchen cabinet customer? I want somebody who wants custom kitchen cabinets in Boise, or custom shaker cabinets in Boise. I don't know if shaker is a big thing in Boise, or Brampton. It doesn't matter to me where it is, right? But what's the importance of that little tiny tip that I firmly believe in?
It's huge, because local SEO is where everything it resides. I mean, if you think about this, if you go do a search, and let's forget about putting in Boise, right? I just search for kitchen cabinet modeler or kitchen cabinetry near me, custom cabinetry near me, whatever it might be. Google knows where you are. Okay, they can trust me. They know you're driving down I-95. Okay, and they
While
know
you're
that you
doing it.
stopped at the second red light. Right? They know that you're about to order a coffee before you even look it up. Right?
Yeah.
So they know where you are. They can then take that information and then they're going to display a couple of results in, they're going to give you those Google ads that people are paying big money for.
Yeah.
They're paying 30, 40, maybe even $100 a click. But right under the, and by the way, people know their ads, right? So I know it's an advertisement. I'm probably not going to click on it. Right under that, we have this map area. And in that map area is 3 results. It's called the local 3-pack. The statistics show us that people in the home services who get a map in their results are 70% likely, or 70% of those people will click on one of those top 3 Google map results. Less than 50% will ever scroll past the 3rd organic result under those maps.
So the maps, are you saying that 70% of people click on the map results and they ignore the ads anyways, which are pay-per-click, and there's robots tapping them anyways to burn people's money? Okay.
Exactly. And the reason for that is twofold. Number one is, yes, it comes up very quickly and it's giving you a local result. If I'm buying a service from my home, I want to work with someone in the area. Right. So that's number one. But number two is there's a lot more information that's available in those map areas, such as reviews, such as there's a CTA, a call to action, such as call now, book now. You can do that without even visiting the website. That's why SEO is so powerful. You don't even have to have a great website to get somebody to contact you if you're in that map area. But then what happens is, and you talked about this earlier, word of mouth reputation. That does come into play a lot in this map area because for the conversion, you can see how many reviews people have. Now, if I'm brand new and I only have 3 or 4 reviews, and what if one of them is a terrible review? Not even because it wasn't even real. Somebody came up and they're just pissed off because I didn't call them back in 10 minutes. Yeah. And these guys are terrible. They don't have customer service. But you weren't even a client, right? But Google doesn't care. It's going to put it up, and now you got to fight over that. If you have 100 reviews, someone's going to click on that company much sooner, and they could be in position 3 where the guy in position 1 has 2 reviews.
Right.
We've
all done it. We do it for restaurants. We do it for auto body shops. We do it for tire places. Why wouldn't people do it for kitchen cabinets or remodeling?
Right. But here's the thing. Google also knows that people do that. So they take the amount of reviews and the level of those reviews into the algorithm calculation, meaning so the more reviews you have and the more high quality reviews you have, the better your ranking is going to be in that map section. There's a lot of things that we do in that map section. I mean, we might go and write content and go to somebody who has a Google News approved website, and provide them a piece of educational content about, why shaker cabinets are still trending after 5 years, after 10 years, something like that. And we get a link back to our map area, actually. That's one of the tricks a lot of people don't think about. They always think, I got to have links back to my site. No, you don't. What you need to do is you need to have links to your Google map, your Google business profile, because that profile is linking to your site. And what search is all about is making your friends more popular, not making yourself more popular. Think back to when you were in high school. How would you become popular in high school? Was it that you were the coolest kid there? No. What you did is you hung out with the coolest kid, and the cooler that your friends are by association, you then become that person. And Google acts in the same way. And I hate to say it for all those people who had a horrible high school experience, but that's what Google is. It's a click.
So is Facebook, right? Yeah, we know that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm in Boise, if I'm in Brampton, if I'm in Baton Rouge, it doesn't matter. We could put together a package that Google would like. That Google says, hey, this is a legit company doing good work. And when the right kind of person types in their interest, it'll bring up, this is the best cabinet company in Baton Rouge.
Right. Now, don't get me wrong. It is still important to have great content on your site about Baton Rouge. So one of the things that we would do if we were working with a custom cabinet maker in Baton Rouge, we would have a page about custom cabinetry in Baton Rouge. And then what we would do is we would create a bunch of what we call silo pages about museums in Baton Rouge, about the airport in Baton Rouge, about all these parks and things like that. we'd never link those in the website. But they'd be part of the back end that Google would know about. Why? Because we're going to send all these custom geo signals to Google that says, hey, these guys are really important and they promote their local area. Again,
Oh,
Google doesn't want you to sell something. They want to know that you are involved in the community
in
and
the
that
community.
you're all about the area. So we do that. Then what we do is we'll go and we'll write one of these articles about the park in Baton Rouge, go to a Google News approved site, get that link on their site and have it directed to our map area, to our
That's
business, to our Google
super
profile.
clever. That
Thank
is
you.
super. Oh my
and
goodness.
and it's and it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of, I want to make that profile popular because that profile is going to link to me, and it's all about Baton Rouge, or it's all about Boston or Boise, or whatever your B town of choice is.
Whatever your B town of choice is. So this is, some people are frustrated listening right now because, like I said, they're walking around the shop, they're finally walking their dog, they're over. What do I do? I mean, obviously there's guys like you and many companies out there like you, but
Sure.
how do I have, let's say this, I have a website. It's not bringing me leads. I don't know what else to do. It's costing me money as it is. The guy from the Yellow Pages still contacted me and gave me a package for, whatever per month, and it's still not working. And we walk around kind of bruised thinking, look, I'm not a marketer. I'm not even a sales guy. I'm really good at my trade. I just need the answer. So where do we start to figure out our website needs help?
So the first thing I would do is I would reach out to somebody who can actually provide you with a search engine audit. You want someone to take a look at your website to see, I mean, does it check off all the boxes in terms of what Google's looking for? Does it have the right site speed? Is it being blocked from being indexed in the database? And what that means is simply, does Google even know your site exists? Do you have a page for the town that you want to service? And do you have pages for your neighbor, for all the neighborhoods?
Right, because there's different neighborhoods, right? There's Seaside, there's Oceanside, there's Ocean View, there's Ocean Villas, and you want to make sure you show up for those, right?
And you just want to have content, unique content for all those. One of the biggest mistakes I see people make who think that they're so smart is, well, I'm going to create 15 different city pages. I'm going to write a really great page, and then I'm just going to change the name of the city, and I'm going to change the driving directions. And now I'm going to have a page for New Orleans cabinetry, Baton Rouge cabinetry. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have picked Louisiana because I don't know any other cities in the state. But you get the idea. And what they really just did is they just created a whole bunch of duplicate content. Google knows this duplicate content, and they filtered you out. So Google's going to choose which of those one pages they think are actually important and are relevant.
So you just did a bunch of work for nothing.
Yeah, in all likelihood, you're not going to get ranked for any of it now because you're not unique and you're not providing an answer. And that's why I say it all comes back to, did you answer the intent of the searcher? What is the searcher looking for?
I'm looking for custom kitchen cabinets in Valley View, Alberta, and Valley View, LA, whatever it is.
But here's the other thing is, I work with a lot of custom cabinet builders, and they love their craft, and they want to talk about custom cabinetry, and they want to talk about why, for example, press board is not the way to go, or they want to talk about every different handle, and at the end of the day, you got to remember, the searcher doesn't know about any of that stuff, right? They don't care what kind of CNC machine was used to build the cabinet door. No. They don't care, whether they probably don't even care if it's sustainable or not. I mean, they want to know is, I want custom cabinets. I want something that looks good. I want something that maybe
and somebody I can trust to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then, it comes down to something that Google calls EAT. It has nothing to do with your grandmother's lasagna. EAT stands for expertise, authority, and trust. And if you hit those three things, if you can show that you are an expert in the field, that there are other relevant sources that link to you, showing that there's some authority here. Maybe you wrote a couple press releases and ABC and NBC link to you now, right? And trust. How many people have reviewed you? Are you, what does people on housing, what does people on Google say? Facebook, Yelp. Don't use Yelp, by the way, just because it's harder to get those reviews there.
Yeah.
They choose who goes up and who doesn't. But if you can get reviews on Yelp, it's good. But the point is, if you can meet those three items, you're going to rank. If you try and game the system, if you want to play the game that I'm smarter than Google, you're going to lose every single time.
Yeah, well, they
It's
have
like a news feed.
gajillions of dollars and 1,000 MBAs working there trying to beat. Yeah.
You're
Hey,
not smarter than Google, and I'm not smarter than Google.
no,
So,
we're not going to be. And they're already
no.
ahead of us, right?
And what we do is we want to be friends with Google. We want to work with them, not against them. And that's my best takeaway for anybody who wants to do any kind of search work. Work with the giant, don't fight the giant.
So before people listen, I'm really big on what action can somebody take in the next 24 hours to get benefit. And for those of you who've seen me present on stage, you'll always hear me say, what you're going to learn today, you can use within the next 24 hours, if you choose to, but it should be like a manageable chunk. So I know there's an update that just happened, which again is going to make a whole, like millions of websites irrelevant. But before we get to that, can you just give us a couple of tips? And Mike, I didn't prep you for this. I apologize, but I'll bet you already know. Can you give us a couple tips on how to get those reviews? How do I get, let's say I do great work. I am a master craftsman. I mean, I finish cabinets by licking the edges myself to make sure they're perfect, but I don't have any reviews. How do I get 3 reviews? What do I do?
Okay. Soon as you finish a job, first thing you do is you hand somebody a gift. How about you have a custom wooden cutting board made up for every single person you do cabinets or kitchen for. And on the back of that custom cutting board is a QR code, and they scan the QR code and it takes them right into your Google review
What's
page.
a QR code, Mike? It's that
QR code is that square little black and white design that no one understands, but when you click, when you take a picture with your camera, it opens up a website.
Yeah, we do that at restaurants now to get the menu, right? Yeah.
And you can program those codes to literally open up your Google review submission form. So give a reason, or give some, and if you give someone a cutting board or something like that, that's never going to leave their kitchen. Even if they don't do it today, they don't do it tomorrow, they're going to look at that for the next 5 years, and eventually they're going to do it. The other thing is, flat out, just ask people, hey, I know that you love this because you told me that. Would you mind if I texted you the link to our Google review, and I'll stay on the phone with you just to help you? The best way that we can improve our services is that we know what we did right for people. We live and breathe by referrals.
What a nice script that was. The best way we can improve our service is when we know what we did right for people. Folks, write that one down. That's a good one, Mike. I love it.
By the way, with people on the internet, don't ever ask what we did wrong, because you'll get 19 times more answers.
Thank you. All right, good.
But in any case, you unfortunately, you have to give some sort of incentive to someone, because they're not going to do it without being prompted in some way. I usually tell the people I work with to literally take your cell phone out and walk with a person as they're coming in for the final walkthrough and get that reaction. And then, hey, would you mind doing just a quick video for us, with the review? Now, that's not going to go on Google, but you can put that's real world testimonials that you can put on your websites, and you can upload that video to YouTube, by the way, owned by Google.
Google, that's right.
Upload that video to your Google business profile. And when people go and click on the map, the first thing they're going to see is, and it's a little self-serving, but they're going to see the video of someone talking about, wow, Jim's cabinetry was unbelievable. I love my new kitchen. I wake up at 3 a.m. to go get a glass of water, and I'm still shaking my head.
Oh, great. Awesome. Well, thank you. Those are tips people need, because again, we know we're good at our trade. Why do I have to ask for a testimonial? Shouldn't people just give it? But we don't. Somebody, you went and got a coffee today. The barista was excellent. Did you leave a review for the coffee shop? No. But maybe if they had asked you, you would have.
I'll tell you something else. Maybe if they had a little sign that said, leave us a review, and we're going to handpick one review out of the next 20 for a free cup of coffee. How many people do you think would leave a review then?
Hey, I have the same problem. Do you know, this is self-serving. You want to hear self-serving? I've told the audience, send me a picture of you having a cup of coffee. Of course, what I want them to be doing is working on their plan. I want them with a blank notebook, writing out what they're going to do for the day, but at a coffee shop so they're not distracted. And if they do that, I'll send them $5. So far, we've got, a handful of people that I should have so many people hammering me for that $5 that I shut that program off. So that's an open tip to everybody. Text me a picture of you having a coffee at a coffee shop, and I'll buy that coffee by sending you a $5, probably an Amazon gift card, but do it. So, thank you, Mike. How did I do? Was that good?
I think that's fantastic.
Was it self-serving enough?
A little bit. Now, what I might have done is add a couple Timbits to it, but
Hey, I understand there was an update. These updates happen all the time, like I don't know how often, but
They're
I've been
sporadic.
caught in the updates where I get an email from my service provider saying, hey, your site pages aren't showing up anymore, or this page is now dead. And I'm like, what the what? Just because Google did an update. And so I end up, not too happy with Google. I understand a new update just came out.
It did. It's called the Helpful Content Update. It rolled out on August 25th. This is probably the most important update in 10 or 15 years.
Oh,
Why? Because what it's doing is it is looking for content that answers questions. And specifically, it's looking to see, does Google believe the content was written by an AI, artificial intelligence, a robot, a software, or was it written by a human being for human beings? So many times we have content that's just absolute garbage. It's written by robots for robots because we think that's what Google wants to see. And Google doesn't really care what you write as long as their users, their searchers find it helpful. Now, the thing with this update, which makes it so dangerous, though, is it's not a filter like most of the recent updates are, where it looks at a piece of content. Well, I'm going to filter out this page because it violates whatever this update is doing. This is a penalty update, and it's
oh,
site wide. What that means is if Google detects, let's say, 5, 6, 7 pages on your site that are all kind of violate, it's just not helpful content, they will penalize the entire domain. And the worst part is
your
because,
domain is my URL, right? Like
correct. Yep. Your name.
www.domscabinets.com. That
Right.
whole,
And then tomscabinets.com/about us /FAQ /custom cabinet, whatever it might be. It'll nail all of them. And with filter issues, you could just fix the content and then eventually you'd get back in pretty quickly. Because this is a penalty-based site-wide algorithm update, if you get nailed on this, you're going to be down until Google rolls out another algorithm update and recrawls the site. So you could be
wow.
down for 6 months. So that's why it's so important to make sure that you're putting out good content. And it's not hard to do. Just, like I said, write content for people who are coming to your site. To be perfectly honest, if you're not writing content for people who are searching for what you have to offer, why are you writing content? And Google actually came out with a statement, which I love. And they said, would you write this content if Google didn't exist? And that's perfect. Because
Mm,
if you're writing content because you think Google wants to read it, don't put it out. It's
right.
garbage. If you're writing content that you think if someone reads, they're gonna have an aha moment. They're gonna say, oh, I get it now. This is why I need to have my cabinets with a rollout. This is why I need to use mahogany, whatever it might
Right.
be.
Right. So if I'm in
That's
Florida and I
Yep.
understand my perfect customer really, really well, and let's say I serve a retirement community in Florida, that's a
Yep.
wild stretch right there, Mike. I might need to say words like, or I might need to create content around handicap access or wheelchair access and custom
Sure
kitchens
do.
or something
Yep.
like that,
Mhm.
because that's
Yep.
relevant to my ideal customer. But again, I have to know my ideal customer. And
You
folks,
do.
those of you listening, knowing your ideal customer comes from the end of job report. We've talked about this on other episodes before. We'll certainly talk about it in the future. But to see how all these content pieces I'm bringing to the podcast help. So what Mike's talking about here is the pointy tip of the spear when we go out looking for the customer who's looking for us.
Exactly. And once you know you have that perfect avatar, that ideal customer in mind,
Mm.
it's so much easier to craft your messaging and to answer questions because you kind of know what they want to do. And by the way, Google makes it really easy. How about this? Go into Google, let's type in, what's important in Vermont's custom cabinetry industry or something super geo niche specific. And you know what Google's going to do? It's going to give you 6 or 7 people also ask questions, and you're going to see what people are asking.
Oh, those little
Yeah,
questions that
yeah.
come up on the side.
So yeah, and guess what? You now have an outline for a piece of content.
I didn't think of that. So I can
Google
use
art.
that as the headings for my blog or hire somebody
Yep,
to write the content.
yep.
Because,
And
if I'm a cabinet maker, I'm probably not also a
right.
world-class writer. No offense to the writers out there.
Probably not, but you can hire somebody. You can use software to try and help you write the content, and then you as the human being can look at it and edit it, because we don't need to write novels. We don't we want to write like a regular person. What the thing that annoys me more than anything else is when people look at attorneys, right? And they say, oh, they use all these fancy words, and and they write these 1,500 to 2,500 word, essays that could be done in 500 words. Well, write like a human being. Don't write like an attorney.
I gotta tell you, Mike, I felt, because I'm a business consultant.
Yep.
I could talk like I came from McKinsey and Company. I could talk like I was at one of the big 5 accounting firms easily. But I learned a long time ago that that's not how other people talk back.
That's right.
So it varies specifically. And if you look at my content, we say I'm gonna, not I'm going to. We use contractions, which is I will or I'll, apostrophe LL, because that's how people talk. And if I can't talk like people talk, we can't be understood.
Let's take it a step further. Localize the way that you write, because if I'm in New Orleans, if I'm in the Southeast, I'm going to use the y'all. I'm not going to say.
So you pronounced New Orleans wrong. So all the people in Louisiana are laughing at you right now from up from the Northeast.
They probably are.
This guy doesn't know how to even say New Orleans.
That's right. And that's a perfect example of, but localize your content. So you could even take a piece of content, maybe you're opening up a second division, in another part of the state, or even, you lived in New England your whole life and you're old enough now. And you're like me and you said, oh, the hell, I'm getting out of this snow. I'm going down. I want to sit through hurricanes instead of snowstorms.
Yeah. Right? Apparently you've got a big one coming right now.
We do. We do, in fact. But the point being is, you now maybe you had all this content written up in Connecticut or in Boston, and now you're down in Tampa, or you're in Miami, or wherever it might be. You went out to Phoenix, Arizona, whatever. You can take that same content, rewrite it with a local twist, and now you have a new piece of content, and you got a piece that is helpful to your local audience.
Yeah, ultimately, it's the same thing we want to do with our the cabinets we build. We want people to love them, and they want it to be useful. This is the same thing with the content. So, sure. Mike, I really appreciate having you on the show. As you joked in the beginning, you've been on here 3 times. There's a good chance you're going to be on another 3 times, because I like your, I like talking to you, but I also like the conversations we have around, just how to do what we need to do. If somebody wants to find you in this big wide world, please tell me that you're easy to find on Google.
Oh my goodness, am I easy to find on Google?
If
you were to type in kitchen remodeling leads, we actually show up in the top 3 results.
Good.
But beyond that, all you got to do is you go to kitchen remodeling SEO for Search Engine Optimisation.com. You can also, we have a podcast that we have a weekly show. It's called Crushing It with Kitchen Remodeling. And you can find that on Apple, on iTunes, on Google Music, everywhere across the board. And like I said, even if you just put in my name, Mike Goldstein, SEO, you're probably going to find me pretty easily that way.
Mike Goldstein, EIN or IEN?
GOLDSTEIN.
EIN. Sorry, I have to ask because I mistype it. You're in my contacts and I mistype your name all the time.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But that's why, kitchen remodeling SEO is usually the easiest way to find us, or just give us a call at 339-645-9461.
There you go. Or folks, you listen to the show all the time, get in touch with me and I'll introduce you to Mike by email or text. And Mike and I are usually in touch on a number of other matters throughout. We probably talk a couple times a month already.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, good. Well, Mike, listen, I know you have to hunker down and get ready for a hurricane coming through.
Sure do.
Yeah, so I'm going to let you go. And but thank you for being on the show. And again, I'm sure we'll have you back again when there's more Google updates or there's more content that we can bring. The goal here is we need to keep it simple and we need to keep it actionable. And as long as you and I are doing that, people are going to be able to do what they need to do.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the audience and to educate them on the little things that I do know.
Yeah, I know. The older I get, the less I know.
If I was only 16 again, you know how smart I'd be.
Oh, yeah. All right, Mike, thanks.
You got it. Thanks.
Have a great day. Bye-bye. Well. Thank you, Mr. Mike Goldstein. Always great to have you on the show. Boy, we covered a lot of ground there. A lot of ground. But, originally, folks, Mike and I were supposed to talk about this new update from Google. And let me look at my notes here because it's called the Google named this the Helpful Content Update. Doesn't that make you wonder about why they chose such a vanilla title? It's kind of like if you ever read George Orwell and they had, the Ministry of Peace that was actually where they did all their war planning. It's just a weird title to me. Anyways, we were supposed to talk about that. Here's what we ended up talking about in case you missed it during the episode. How to get online reviews, how to be relevant to your customers, how to know what to write about with your customers. It's so many different tips and tools from Mike, and you probably picked up some other things as well. Anyways, I appreciate the fact that you listened in today. I really, really do. I love having you listen to the show. And you heard me say this in the episode. I need to say this more. I need to remind us the goal of these episodes, for all of these episodes, is that you're able to take action on something in your business, something that makes you a forward-facing contractor that runs the right kind of cabinetry business. You can take one action item in the next 24 hours, and that action will have a positive impact on your business. That's all I want to do. I just want to give you what you need to make a positive impact on your business. If you take just one step every time you listen to an episode, and we go live twice a month, then at the end of this year, that's 25 small changes you've put in place in your business. And when the guy across the street who doesn't listen to podcasts, who doesn't invest in himself, who doesn't invest in the inventory of his mind, doesn't make those small changes, guess who's going to win? Guess who's going to win? It's you, because you're constantly evolving and moving forward. So thank you for that. Speaking of constantly evolving and moving forward, the next portion of the show used to be called Storytime with Dom. It is now called Questions and Answers with Dom, because we invite you to call in and ask questions, which I will answer here on the podcast. The easy way so you can take part is go to a website that we've set up. It's called speakpipe.com and then /ask Dom. Couldn't be more simple. Just go to speakpipe.com/ask Dom, and that's where you can leave a question that I will answer here on the show. Thanks, folks. See you in the other part.
Hey, Dom. Brian Steinhardt from Waterfall Kitchens in Australia. My question to you today is how to implement an office staff assistant, either by employing someone in-house or using somebody from overseas to be able to use them for some of the data collection. So the example is, we build kitchens and do kitchen renovations for people, and we're struggling to capture all the information on, all the appliances for the job, and being able to enter that into one spot to be able to help streamline the process with the clients.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Questions and Answers with Dom. Today, we're going to be answering a question from Brian Steinhardt. Now, Brian is one of the members of the Contractor Strategy Group on Facebook. If you're not a member of that yet, that's one of the places you can submit questions for me to answer here on the podcast. Otherwise, if you want to have us answer one of your questions, feel free to go to speakpipe.com/ask Dom and leave your question there. So just a moment ago, you heard Brian's question. So I want to talk about this, the hiring of an assistant, how to implement an office assistant. There's a couple of steps, and I'm going to walk you through my plan. For those of you who are watching this as a video, there's a plan that I would put in place if I was either coaching you or doing this for myself. And it's going to take some little bit of organizing, but here's what I want you to do to start, and you might be surprised to hear me say this. The first thing I want you to do is leave the office. I want you to go to a coffee shop. I want you to buy yourself a coffee, and then I want you to find a table and face the corner. I want you to put in your headphones so nobody's going to bug you. And then I want you to grab a blank piece of paper and a pen so you can start writing and thinking. Remember, working from the neck up is the most valuable work that we can do as a business owner, especially in the trades, because there's always people pulling at us. There's always somebody asking us questions. We just need some quiet time to figure this out on paper. Once it's on paper, you own it. Once it's on paper, you can move it where you need to. But unless it's on paper, it's really hard to grab a hold of it. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you to flowchart your process now. So what's the process that you've got inside the company? Brian was saying, we do kitchen renos, and he's got problems getting appliance information back so that he can build what he needs to build. By the way, very common problem in the cabinetry world, because not all ranges or stoves, not all dishwashers, not all fridges are built the same. And they're not all the same size, believe it or not. They've got finished edges, they've got faces, it's not standard information. So I understand his frustration And now he's in the cabinetry space. It doesn't matter what construction or contracting or trade space you're in, you still have these challenges. Information back and forth with the customer is the basic premise here. So I want you to flowchart your process, but I want you to start with your marketing. Like, how do you market to find customers? And then at the very bottom of your flowchart process is, what's the end stage? What's the final perfect ending of a perfect customer? So the customer's super happy and leaves you a Google review or a Yelp review. It might be your final stage. So what are you going to fill in between the bottom and the top, or the top and the bottom? You need to have that all on paper. That might be one coffee meeting with yourself on its own, just writing that down. Now that you have that written down, you've got the information you need to ask yourself whether that's information into the company or out of the company at each of those stages. So then quickly just go and say, do I need information in or information out? Out is where I've got to ask them for something. Out is where I got to send them a message. In is where they've got to send me the dimensions of their range or their range hood, or they've got to send me pictures of their perfect pergola, or if they have some tiles they want you to set because you're doing bathroom renovations, what do those tiles look like? They've just got to send you something and upload those files. Now you're ready again for the next stage. What you're going to do is you're going to take that flowchart, Brian, and I want you to question every single stage. Okay. Nobody said this wasn't going to be work, but Brian, you know what it's like? Go get a coffee, take a picture of yourself having that coffee, and I'll send you $5. Brian, bud, you've already done that, but if you send another picture of yourself having coffee, I'll send it back again. Folks, that's a standing offer I make to everybody. I really want you to work on your business. I really want you to be the entrepreneur. I really want you to invest the time in doing this. And so just a little sidebar here. If you take a picture of yourself at a coffee shop working on your business with a coffee in hand, with your notebook in front of you, and then text that to me or email it to me or post it to the Facebook group, then I will send you $5 as a way to buy that coffee for you. If you want to text it to me, you can always text me at 604-837-8361. But let's keep going, right? So now that you've got the flow chart, now that on that flow chart you've marked off whether you need information in or information going out, now you're going to question it. At each stage, do I need people for that stage, or do I need technology? Now, Brian, you asked a question about hiring an overseas contractor, and here I am talking about the flowchart, because we don't know if we need a person yet or if we need a system that's brought on by technology, right? Now, if you need a person to do that stage, that's fine, but I wonder if there's a way for you to use technology, and I'll bet you there is. Now, you don't have to sign up for a new software. There's ways to do things on the cheap. I am the king, by the way, of bootstrapping a business. All of the businesses I have built have started with zero money and just me out there selling, probably a lot like you guys. And as I've moved on, I've started to then invest more in systems and processes. So if you're a fan of Google and all of the Google tools on Google Drive, you can get Google Sheets. It's free. It's a way to send a form to somebody, and there's Google Forms. You can send a form to somebody. You can send a sheet to somebody. You can send a survey to somebody, and they can answer that. Or they can upload a file, or they can upload a drawing, and they can send that back to you. Now that we've got that way for that information to flow back and forth, you can have a person who's responsible for making sure that's sent to the Smith or the Hernandez or the Chan or the McLeod family, and then it's sent and then it's received back. And Brian, this is where we get to your assistant. We'll come there in a second. Now I want you to ask yourself, how do we gather the information now? Is it information we actually need? Are we getting information in the right form or format? And if you're not, think about on your flowchart how you want it ideally. Then ask yourself, is there a better way to do that? Now, you might not know, and that's okay. But on this show and on other shows before, you've heard me talk about Christopher Meneses. Chris is my tech guy, and he's a whiz at something called Zapier. Zapier. Zapier is a tool. It's an app. And what it does is it helps two softwares that aren't supposed to talk to each other talk to each other. So if you can say to Zapier, if Google Forms is populated by a client, update info to my Google Drive folder. And there, if you just go look at Zapier.com, you'll see all of the different recipes. They're called recipes. But as I said, there's Google Forms and there's different software. You might just want to go buy a certain software to make this happen. But again, if you're bootstrapping, if you're trying to make do with very little, figure out how to do it in its most basic form, and you can get better later. Now, we need a reminder system. We need a reminder that says to the customer, hey, we need those instructions, or we need the specifications on the range or on the fridge or on the dishwasher, whatever it is. So go back to your flow chart. Is there a place there where you need that information from the customer? Is there a way to get it earlier? Is there an automatic reminder system that you can set with them? There are automated ways to do that so that you don't actually have to pay for a person. Or if you still want to use a person, you can use that person on a fractional basis, which means you don't need to hire them for 8 hours. The days of hiring an admin assistant for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week are gone. You don't need to do that anymore. Now, you may work yourself back up to that level. That's fine. But you can get an assistant for an hour a week. You're going to have to train that person, and you're going to have to make sure they do their job, but you don't need them for a full day. You don't need them even sitting in your office. You can do all of this if your office is mobile, if you're in a truck and they're in a different country or a different part of the country altogether. So ask yourself, do I have a people problem or do I have a process problem? If you want to go hire a contractor, now that you've figured all this out, where your inputs are, where your outputs are, then I like to go and hire people from something called Upwork.com. So that's UPWORK.com. Upwork is a great, it's like a clearinghouse for contractors, people that are admin assistants, people that are really good with bookkeeping, people that are really good with art, people that are really good at producing things for you. You can find people who will 3D render drawings for you. You can find people that will help you with purchasing, right? All sorts of things. There's all sorts of contractors on there. And you can hire them for an hour or 40 hours, whatever you need to. Now, I'd suggest you hire somebody who you can train, Brian, and that you can show what you need done when. So for instance, you could say, look, but every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I need you to go to this form on my Google Drive. I need you to see the open accounts who hasn't sent us back the dimensions for their dishwashers. And I need you to send them a message. And the message is going to have a link in it back to the Google Forms that says, please, upload your documents here. If they still haven't given us the specifications after 2 weeks, then can you send them an email and then send them a text message? All of that can be automated. But you can now use an assistant for just a couple hours a day or a couple hours a week without having to pay for them for 40 hours and house them in your office, etc. So does that help? I know it sounds a little bit convoluted because you asked a question about, how do I hire maybe an overseas person or a contract administrator? And I started with the business operations flowchart, but that's really where it comes back to. We have to identify if we're solving the right problem in the right place. Brian, thank you very much for asking the question. I appreciate it. If you have a question, go to speakpipe.com/ask Dom and leave your question there. Thanks.